Once upon a time, in the year of our Lord 1692, a man stood before a judge, accused of a brutal crime.
I did not kill my wife! That thing in the bed was a monster!
His defense was not madness. His defense was magic. He claimed his true wife had been stolen by the Fae, replaced by a changeling. The trial is about to begin. But to understand the verdict, we must rewind the clock. Before the ice, before the court, there was Aine. You are the light of this valley, Aine. I promise to protect you against man or myth. A beautiful promise. But promises cannot stop a sickness of the mind. The fever came in the dead of winter, stealing her warmth, and then it stole her spirit.
The walls are breathing. Who is in the corner? Cormac, the shadows are whispering.
Today, we would recognize the signs: a neurological storm, personality changes, hallucinations. But to an isolated village in 1692, this was not illness.
Stop this! Look at me! You are my wife, not a demon of the woods! Speak to me with your true voice!
Do not touch me! You bear the iron! It burns the shadows!
Desperate, Cormac turned to the old ways. He crossed the border of the village to find the fairy doctor, a man who dealt in the currency of myths, spells, and changelings.
She is gone. The thing in my house fears the iron. Tell me how to banish the fairy and get my true bride back!
The fairy doctor gave him 3 tasks, 3 rituals to burn away the illusion: fire, iron, and the chant of the hollow hill.
Iron bind the shadow's skin. Fire draw the true soul in. Leave this flesh, you hollow thing!
Cormac, please! It is... My night is too bright and...
The rituals failed, because there was no changeling. There was only a sick woman and a man blinded by ancient fears.
I am a physician. I have studied the humors and the nerves. What occurred in that cottage was not an expulsion of a demon.
Enter Margaret, a rare woman of science in a century of superstition. She brought logic to a room drowning in myth. But did they listen?
It was a fever of the brain, a documented condition. You killed your wife because you were too cowardly to face her illness.
I loved my wife! The iron proved it! When the metal touched her, the fairy shrieked! You know nothing of the old magic!
The courtroom erupted. On one side, the dawn of enlightenment. On the other, the heavy, suffocating blanket of community belief.
Of course she shrieked. You pressed burning iron to a sick woman's skin.
Intriguing, mysterious, pulling the audience in closer. The judge was torn. Convict Cormac of murder, and he insults the entire village's deep-rooted faith. Acquit him, and he ignores the law. Iron bind the shadow's skin. Fire draw the true soul in. She will return, the fairy doctor promised.
The verdict was a compromise of cowardice, manslaughter, a slap on the wrist for a man who burned his wife alive. But Margaret was not finished.
The gavel had fallen, but Margaret's trial was just beginning. She retreated to the only sanctuary she knew, the grand archives of early science.
Not a curse, a symptom. The trembling, the visions, it must be recorded here. The humors of the brain are misaligned, not stolen!
She sought the language of reality to combat the language of myth. While the village believed the fairies lived in hollow hills, Margaret knew the true labyrinth was the human mind.
Here! The fever of the mind! It is physical! It can be treated! Aine did not need fire, she needed medicine!
But truth, however bright, is a fragile thing against the crushing weight of tradition. For in the dark, The fairy doctor's rules were absolute. The doctor warned me the changeling will lie. It will wear her face. It will cry her tears. I must not listen. The rules of the Fae were woven into their very blood. To them, magic was not a story, it was biology, it was law. And the law stated that iron burns the imposter.
Keep your illusions! I will burn the sickness out of her! I will force you to return my Aina!
Two worlds, two explanations for a single tragedy. One rooted in the heavens of intellect, the other buried deep in the soil of fear.
The jury is compromised by superstition. I must prove the physical nature of the ailment. If I can demonstrate the pathology, they cannot execute him for murder, but they must see his guilt in her death.
And so the world building was complete. The stage was set for the ultimate collision. In his cell, Cormac waited, not for the hangman, but for a miracle. She will return. When the moon turns new, the fairy spell breaks. The doctor swore it. She will walk through that door.
But miracles have no place in a court of law. As the final day of the trial dawned, Margaret prepared to unleash the full fury of reason.
Look at these pages! Read the symptoms, the trembling, the loss of self. It is a sickness of the flesh, not a theft of the soul.
She spoke of anatomy, of nerves and fever. But to a jury raised on ghost stories, she might as well have been speaking a foreign tongue.
Your books cannot explain the shadows. Your medicine did not see the creature recoil from the blessed iron. You are blind to the true world.
The deadlock was absolute, science against superstition. And the judge, a man who feared the wrath of his own village more than the failure of justice, prepared to make his ruling. The trial ended, but the tragedy echoed. Cormac served his time, his mind forever locked in the comforting cage of his own myth. She is still out there. The fairies kept her, but I saved her soul from the shadow. I saved her. But that is not where this story ends. Margaret's voice was silenced in 1692, but ink is immortal.
They will not understand today. But tomorrow they will know her name. They will know the truth.
200 years later, a modern neurologist pulls an old, dusty journal from an archive. Margaret's journal. The condition now treatable with a single simple medication. The student asks him, what did they do wrong? They had an explanation. They believed more than they believed her. But to truly grasp the horror of that courtroom verdict, we must witness the 3 trials of the Hollow Hill. We must return to the night of the expulsion. The first task is the test of memory. A changeling has the face but not the history. The circle is drawn. The fairy doctor commanded that she be tested, to ask questions only the true Ain would know. But fever destroys memory just as easily as it destroys the body.
I don't know. I don't remember the color of the ribbon. My head is burning, Cormac. Please, the shadows are too loud.
Task 1 failed. To Cormac's poisoned mind, her confusion was a confession. The creature inside the circle was an imposter. The trials had to escalate.
Drink the foxglove. The doctor swore it poisons fairy blood but purifies the human soul. Drink it and cast the illusion aside.
Foxglove, a powerful cardiac stimulant. To a healthy body, it is dangerous. To a woman already dying of a neurological fever, it is a death sentence.
No, it burns my heart. Cormac, you are killing me. Please, let me sleep.
But to Cormac, the coughing was not poison. It was proof. The fairy inside her was fighting the medicine. Task 2, complete. It was time for the final expulsion.
Iron bind the shadow skin. Fire draw the true soul in. Leave this flesh, you hollow thing!
The third task, the most dangerous of all. Ancient Celtic law demanded that iron be used to break a fairy's glamour.
Iron bind the shadow's skin. Fire draw the true soul in. By the earth and by the flame, I cast you out!
He believed the iron would force the monster to shed its human skin. He believed he was saving his wife!
Cormac, it is me. It has always been me. Do not do this.
But fear is deaf, and superstition is blind.
A raw to roar of desert, return my wife!
There was no magical flash of light. No monstrous shriek from a departing fairy.
Shuddery final X.
There was only the terrible, agonizing silence of a human heart, stopping. The spell is broken. She will wake up now. She will wake up. Snapping back to reality. But she did not wake. And that is why he stood before the judge, not as a hero who fought a fairy, but as a man who killed his wife.
He murdered her! And he hides behind a fairy tale because the truth of his own violence is too heavy to bear.
A brilliant argument. Perfect logic. But logic is a weak shield against a community desperate to preserve its own myths.
It was not her! Look to the hollow hill! The fairy doctor knows the truth! I only did what the old laws demanded!
And so the judge was forced to choose. Execute a man for following the village's deepest beliefs or let a murderer go free. The compromise? Manslaughter. Years after the trial, Cormac's sentence was served. But a man possessed by a myth cannot simply walk free. He returned to the hollow hill, to the fairy doctor.
Show yourself! You promised the iron would break the glamour! You promised Oina would return from the shadows! Where is my wife?
And here lies the darkest twist of our tale. The fairy doctor was not a savior. He was a merchant of illusions, selling false hope to the deeply desperate. I am with the Sealy court, farmer. The iron failed because your faith was weak. You hesitated. The fairies smelled your doubt. It was a flawless lie, designed to deflect the blame. But the doctor did not realize that reason had followed Cormac into the dark.
Enough of your poison! You prey on the grieving and hide behind the hollow hill. I have analyzed your magic powders.
Cornered by the light of science, the charlatan lashed out. If he could not convince them with words, he would break their minds with the shadows!
Let the glamour take you! See the monsters you have awakened! The hollow hill claims you both!
It was hallucinogenic ash, designed to manifest their deepest, darkest fears. To a broken mind like Cormac's, it was absolute terror!
The changelings! They are real! They have come to take my soul for what I did to Oin!
But Margaret's mind was not broken. She did not see monsters. She saw a chemical reaction. And she brought a chemical cure.
Shadows are nothing but the absence of light. I banish your superstitions with the fire of reason!
A brilliant, lightning chemical flare! The ultimate clash! The pure, searing light of science utterly vaporizing the poisonous shadows of myth! No! The light! It burns away the glamour! My...
His own hallucinogens, caught in the chemical fire, turned against him. The architect of illusions was permanently frozen inside a prison of his own shattered glass. Guttural gasp before turning to stone. The light faded, the smoke cleared, and the terrifying monsters of the Hollow Hill vanished, leaving only reality behind. Utterly destroyed. It was a lie. All of it. There were no fairies. I burned her for nothing. He looked to Margaret, hoping for forgiveness. But science does not forgive. It only observes.
The fever took her mind, Cormac. But your superstition took her life.
Live with that ghost. The heaviest chains we wear are not forged of iron, but of our own stubborn beliefs. Centuries passed. The ruins crumbled. The fairy doctors faded into myth. But the truth survived in the ink of Margaret's journal.
They will know her name.
And so, the trial of the Changeling is officially closed. The spell is broken, the shadows are gone, and reality stands victorious. Today, the fever that claimed Aine is cured in days. The Hollow Hills have been replaced by hospitals.
This knowledge is not for my peers. It is for the women of tomorrow, so they may never burn for a sickness again.
But progress cannot resurrect the past. And for those who choose the comfort of a lie over the agony of the truth, I just wanted to bring you home, Aine. I just wanted my wife. We often choose ancient myths because they are easier to fight than reality. You can burn a fairy, but you cannot burn a fever. True devotion does not require magic. It requires seeing the truth of those we love, even when it breaks our hearts to watch them fade.
The truth requires no iron.
Thank you to the seekers of truth who watched until the very end. The gavel has fallen on. It's your turn to take action. Join the quest, uncover more secrets, and be part of the change.
Aine.
A massive shout out to our most loyal scholars, Actale Fan 99, at Lore Seeker 1, and Midnight's Mythios. Your dedication to the lore is legendary.
The archive is secure.
If you enjoyed this descent into the Hollow Hill, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. History is full of monsters. And not all of them wear fairy wings. Some of them wear the faces of those we trust the most. And so, we learn the hardest lesson of all. Happily ever after is a luxury of fiction. In reality, we must earn our endings. The woven iron knot lies abandoned in the mud, suddenly entirely a lie, a chilling, diviner to sleep well.